Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to dive right in, so make sure to watch until the end. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching, and let's get started. The 1971 United States 1-cent coin stands as part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which has been among the most iconic coinages in American numismatic history. The coin's obverse off front features the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. This portrait was first issued to mark the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and it became the first regular circulating American coin to depict a real historical person rather than an allegorical figure. By 1971, the design had already been in use for more than 6 decades, cementing its place in the daily life of Americans. The inscription "Liberty" appears to Lincoln's left, while the motto "In God We Trust" arcs across the top rim of the obverse, reflecting America's national values, an official religious motto adopted in the mid-20th century. To the right of Lincoln's portrait sits the date 1971, with a small mint mark beneath it when struck at either Denver, D, or San Francisco, S, while Philadelphia issues carried no mint mark. On the reverse, the 1971 cent showcases the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparro, the chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. This design had debuted in 1959 on the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, replacing the earlier wheat ears reverse. The memorial design holds both symbolic and architectural significance, portraying the neoclassical structure located in Washington, D.C., which itself serves as a shrine to Lincoln's memory. Careful inspection under magnification reveals a tiny representation of the seated statue of Lincoln visible inside the memorial, an artistic detail meant to tie the two sides of the coin together, ensuring that Lincoln appears on both the obverse and reverse. Above the memorial is the country's full name, United States of America, while directly below that is a traditional motto "E pluribus unum," a Latin phrase meaning "out of many, one," signifying unity and diversity. At the bottom rim lies a denomination spelled out as 1 cent, making the coin self-identifying. From a metallurgical standpoint, the 1971 1-cent coin was struck primarily from a bronze alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a composition that had remained largely unchanged since 1864 when the U.S. Mint first shifted from the earlier copper-nickel alloy. These bronze cents carried a distinctive reddish-brown luster when freshly minted, though with circulation they tended to darken into shades of brown due to oxidation. The coin measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter and weighs 3.11 grams, with a plain edge and a thickness of about 1.55 millimeters. The use of copper gave these cents a solid feel and an intrinsic metal value that later decades, particularly during times of rising copper prices, would place under scrutiny. By the early 1980s, the Mint would abandon this composition in favor of copper-plated zinc. But in 1971, the traditional bronze alloys still carried forward the legacy of earlier cent coinages. In terms of mint production, the 1971 Lincoln cent was struck at 3 major facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia struck the largest number of coins, without a mint mark, intended for general circulation across the eastern and central United States. Denver produced a massive quantity marked with the letter D, feeding commerce primarily in the western states. San Francisco struck coins with a S mint mark, but most of these were proof issues for collectors, created using polished dies and special planches to achieve mirror-like finishes. These proof coins, sold in sets, provided numismatists and hobbyists with pristine examples of the design. The sheer volume of Lincoln cent produced each year ensured that the coin was ubiquitous in everyday commerce, passing through the hands of nearly every American daily, from vending machines to lunch counters. Historically, the 1971 cent emerges in the context of a nation undergoing significant social, political, and economic changes. The early 1970s were marked by the Vietnam War, shifts in cultural values, and the beginnings of economic inflation. Even though the cent represented the lowest face value denomination, its purchasing power was still more meaningful in 1971 than it would be in later decades. A cent could still buy small items such as penny candies or be used as change in jukeboxes and gumball machines. Thus, the coin not only held symbolic value as an object of national memory, but also continued to play a role in everyday economic life. Collectors today look back at these coins as tangible reminders of that transitional period in American history. In terms of collectible interest, the 1971 Lincoln Memorial Cent is common in circulated condition due to the very high mintages. Billions were struck. However, certain varieties and errors create notable exceptions. For example, there are recognized double die obverse varieties from 1971, particularly those showing doubling in the inscriptions "In God We Trust" or "Liberty," which are highly sought after by collectors. Proof coin from San Francisco also attract interest when preserved in high grade, particularly those with cameo or deep cameo contrast. Even circulation strikes, when preserved in brilliant uncirculated or red gem condition, are valued by collectors because copper coins are notoriously prone to spotting, toning, and surface blemishes over time. Culturally, the 1971 Lincoln Cent continues the story of Lincoln's deep symbolic presence in American life. The choice to honor Lincoln, beginning in 1909, reflected not only his stature as a preserver of the Union but also his reputation as a self-made man of humble origins, a message that resonated deeply in American identity. By 1971, the Lincoln Cent had already outlasted numerous design changes in other denominations, serving as a numismatic anchor of stability. The memorial reverse further reinforced Lincoln's position within the American pantheon, aligning his face on the obverse with his architectural tribute on the reverse. For many, especially children and beginning collectors, the Lincoln Cent of the 1970s represented an accessible entry point into coin collecting, sparking lifelong hobbies and an appreciation for history. In conclusion, the 1971 United States 1 cent coin encapsulates a convergence of design tradition, national memory, and everyday utility. Bearing the inscriptions "United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, In God We Trust," and "Liberty," along with the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the coin reflects the ideals of freedom, unity, and faith that have shaped the American story. Struck in massive numbers for circulation and special proofs, it remains one of the most recognizable and widely encountered coins of its time. While common in worn condition, its varieties, mint marks, and high-grade survivors provide continuing fascination for numismatists. More than just a piece of copper, the 1971 cent is a historical artifact that preserves within its small frame the values, artistry, and everyday rhythms of the United States in the early 1970s. The 1986 D. Lincoln Memorial Cent is one of the most recognizable small-denomination coins of late 20th century American coinage. Like other Lincoln cents, it carried the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, on the obverse, designed in 1909 by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's image, rendered in profile facing right, had been in continuous circulation for more than 75 years by 1986, making it the longest-running design on any U.S. coin at that time. Above his head is the inscription, "In God We Trust," the national motto, which had become a familiar part of American coinage. To the left of Lincoln's profile is the single word "Liberty," an ideal central to American identity and history. To the right of the bust appears the date 1986, accompanied by a small D mint mark below it, showing that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. Together, these elements on the obverse combine history, patriotism, and artistry in a small coin that Americans use every day. The reverse side of the coin carries the Lincoln Memorial design created by Frank Gasparro, who served as chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. This reverse design had debuted in 1959, introduced on the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, and it replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse that had been in use from 1909 to 1958. The design depicts the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., with its stately columns and steps rendered in miniature detail. Careful inspection reveals that inside the memorial, one can faintly see the statue of Abraham Lincoln seated, creating the unique feature that Lincoln appears on both the obverse and reverse. Above the memorial is the inscription "United States of America," identifying the issuing nation. Below this inscription is the motto "E Pluribus Unum," Latin for "out of many, one," symbolizing the unity of the states into a single nation. At the bottom, spread along the rim, is a denomination 1 cent. The design not only emphasizes Lincoln's legacy but also connects the coin to an enduring national monument, turning each cent into a small tribute carried in the hands of millions. From a technical standpoint, the 1986 D cent reflects the newer metallic composition introduced in the early 1980s. For most of its history, the Lincoln cent had been made of bronze, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, and weighed 3.11 grams. But as copper prices rose dramatically in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the cost of producing each cent began to exceed its face value. To solve this problem, the mint transitioned in 1982 to a new plan check composed of 97.5% zinc with a thin outer plating of 2.5% copper. This composition gave the coin the same outward coppery appearance while drastically reducing its cost to produce. The new zinc-based cents weighed only 2.5 grams compared to the earlier 3.11 grams, but kept the same diameter of 19.05 millimeters, thickness of about 1.55 millimeters, and plain edge. Thus, the 1986 D cent belongs firmly in the modern era of copper-plated zinc coinage, which remains in use today. While outwardly identical to earlier bronze cents, these zinc coins are more prone to corrosion if their copper layer is breached, a detail important to collectors who seek pristine examples. In terms of mint production, the Denver Mint struck an enormous quantity of cents in 1986, over 4.4 billion pieces. This staggering number reflects the penny's continued necessity in everyday transactions of the time. Philadelphia also produced billions of 1986 cents without mint marks, while San Francisco struck proof coins with an S mint mark specially made for collectors with highly polished dies and mirrored fields. The Denver issues, however, were workhorse coins intended for general circulation across the western and central United States. Because of these vast mintages, the 1986 D cent is considered very common in circulated grades, though well-preserved uncirculated examples with bright, original red color remain more appealing to serious collectors. Copper-plated zinc cents tend to lose their brilliant luster over time, so finding one that retains its original brightness is not as easy as a high mintage might suggest. Historically, the 1986 Lincoln cent circulated in a country experiencing both stability and change. The mid-1980s were marked by the later years of Ronald Reagan's presidency, an era associated with economic growth, global Cold War tensions easing, and the rise of personal computing. While the cent was the lowest denomination of U.S. coinage, it still retained purchasing power in 1986 that made it useful in vending machines, parking meters, and everyday purchases. A single cent could still buy small pieces of candy, and rolls of pennies were commonly used in local shops for giving change. For children, pennies remained a gateway to both money management and coin collecting, as Lincoln cents were easy to find and encouraged curiosity about their dates and mint marks. Thus, the 1986 D cent functioned both as currency and as a cultural artifact linking everyday life to national history. From a collector's standpoint, the 1986 D cent is not famous for dramatic double dies or major rarities, but it does offer points of interest. Minor varieties such as die cracks, die chips, and repunch mint marks, RPMs, are known, as are mint errors like off-center strikes, broad strikes, or clip planches. These anomalies, while uncommon compared to the billions of standard strikes, are sought after by collectors who specialize in Lincoln cent errors. Proof-like examples from Denver are rare, but sharply struck coins with attractive luster are valued, especially when graded at high mint state levels, MS66 or MS67. Because zinc-based cents often spot, tone unevenly, or develop zinc rot when exposed to moisture, pristine survivors become scarce over time, giving them added appeal in the numismatic market. The symbolic inscriptions on the 1986 D cent add depth to its importance. In God We Trust highlights America's reliance on faith as part of national identity, a motto that became official in 1956. Liberty underscores the principle of freedom that defines the American Republic. E pluribus unum affirms unity in diversity, a message that was particularly resonant during the Cold War years when America sought to project strength through national solidarity. And the name United States of America asserts both the issuing authority and the enduring union of states that Lincoln himself fought to preserve. These mottos, paired with Lincoln's face and the memorial structure, transform the coin into more than money. It becomes a small piece of civic education, constantly reminding Americans of their shared values. In conclusion, the 1986 D Lincoln cent is a common but meaningful coin, embodying the transition to modern copper-plated zinc coinage and continuing the long-running designs of Brenner's Lincoln bust and Gasparo's memorial reverse. It circulated in vast numbers, serving as a daily coin of commerce in the mid-1980s, while also functioning as a miniature monument to Lincoln's legacy. Though not rare in circulated form, high-grade examples, era varieties, and proof from the same year hold numismatic interest. More than just a piece of metal, the coin reflects the economic, cultural, and symbolic environment of its era, carrying within its small frame the enduring themes of liberty, unity, faith, and national memory. The 1986 penny, struck by the billions, remains a humble yet significant artifact of American history. The 1998 United States 1-cent coin, more commonly known as a Lincoln cent, carries forward one of the longest-running and most familiar coin designs in American history. By 1998, the Lincoln cent had already been in production for nearly 90 years, since its introduction in 1909 to commemorate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The obverse of the coin features the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, who crafted the design at the request of President Theodore Roosevelt. Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, is depicted in a right-facing profile bust, his features rendered with a solemn dignity that captures his reputation as a leader who preserved the Union during the Civil War. Above his head arcs a motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase first introduced on American coinage during the Civil War and adopted as a national motto in 1956, while to the left of Lincoln's profile is the word liberty, emphasizing one of the nation's foundational ideals. To the right appears the date 1998, and depending on the issuing mint, the coin may also carry a small mint mark beneath the date, such as D for the Denver Mint or S for the San Francisco Mint. Philadelphia issues of 1998 carried no mint mark. On the reverse, the coin showcases the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Gasparro introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. This replaced the earlier wheat ears reverse and became a familiar sight on American pennies for 50 years until 2008. The memorial, located in Washington, D.C., is presented in neoclassical architectural detail, with its column facade prominently displayed. In the center of the memorial, if viewed closely or with magnification, one can discern the tiny figure of Lincoln's seated statue inside, a subtle yet deliberate detail tying both sides of the coin together. Above the memorial runs the nation's name, United States of America, while directly below that is the motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a reference to the unification of the diverse states into one federal union. At the bottom rim appears the denomination 1 cent in large letters, leaving no ambiguity about the coin's value. From a metallurgical standpoint, the 1998 cent reflects a major shift in U.S. coinage composition that had taken place in the early 1980s. Up until 1982, cents were struck in bronze, 95% copper with 5% tin and zinc, carrying a weight of 3.11 grams. But with a rising price of copper, the mint found that the intrinsic metal value of the cent was approaching or exceeding its face value, making production economically unsustainable. Beginning in 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned to a core of 97.5% zinc with a thin plating of 2.5% copper, producing a coin that still looked like the traditional copper penny but weighed only 2.5 grams instead of 3.11. By 1998, this copper-plated zinc composition had been in use for over 15 years, and all Lincoln cents struck that year, whether at Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, conformed to this specification. The coin retained its diameter of 19.05 millimeters, thickness of about 1.55 millimeters, and plain, smooth edge, maintaining continuity with its predecessors in terms of appearance and dimensions. In terms of mintages, the 1998 cent was struck in massive quantities, reflecting its role as the lowest denomination and most widely used coin in the United States. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 5.03 billion pieces, while the Denver Mint struck over 5.23 billion pieces, ensuring their presence in circulation across the nation. The San Francisco Mint, by contrast, produced special proof coins intended for collectors, struck with carefully polished dies and planchets to achieve sharp, mirror-like finishes. The proof coins of 1998 were sold in proof sets and bear the S mint mark. Altogether, the enormous production numbers make the 1998 cent extremely common in circulated grades, with many billions still circulating decades later. However, High-quality uncirculated examples, particularly those with flawless surfaces and brilliant luster, are of special interest to collectors who seek coins graded MS-67 or higher, which are much rarer despite the huge mintage. The year 1998 is of particular numismatic interest because it produced several important die varieties, especially involving the reverse design transition. While the standard Lincoln Memorial design continued through 2008, preparation for the next redesign created subtle differences in the dies used in 1998, 1999, and 2000. Some 1998 cents were struck with what collectors call the wide AM reverse variety, in which the spacing between the A and M in America on the reverse is noticeably wider than usual. This variety arose because certain dies intended for proof coinage were accidentally used to strike circulation coins. The wide AM reverse of 1998 is considered a scarce and desirable variety, commanding strong premiums in the collector market, especially in high grades. The closed AM reverse, by contrast, is a normal variety for 1998 circulation strikes. These varieties add depth to the study of modern cents, proving that even in recent decades, small design details can create significant collectible interest. Beyond the technical details, the 1998 Lincoln cent also carries historical and cultural significance. In the late 1990s, the United States was experiencing a period of relative economic prosperity, often referred to as a dot-com boom, with growing focus on technology and globalization. Yet, amid these changes, the cent, representing the lowest unit of American currency, remained an enduring symbol of tradition, continuity, and everyday commerce. A penny in 1998 could still buy something modest, such as a gumball, or contribute to sales tax calculations, though its purchasing power had diminished compared to earlier decades. The debate over whether to retire the penny was already beginning to surface, given its declining utility, but its role as a cultural artifact, carrying the image of Lincoln and the familiar memorial reverse, kept it deeply embedded in American life. For many children in the 1990s, the Lincoln cent served as an introduction to both money and coin collecting, sparking hobbies and historical curiosity that continue today. Numismatically, the 1998 Lincoln cent bridges the long tradition of the memorial reverse with the changes soon to come. Within just over a decade, in 2009, the U.S. Mint would introduce 4 different bicentennial reverses to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, followed by the permanent Union Shield reverse beginning in 2010. Thus, the 1998 cent belongs to the final generation of memorial cents, marking the twilight years of design that had been in continuous use since 1959. Collectors who build typesets or series sets of Lincoln cents often see the 1998 issues, and especially the wide AM variety, as a necessary inclusion to capture the full narrative of this long-running denomination. Culturally, the coin continues to embody the values inscribed on its surfaces. In God we trust reflect the nation's moral and religious heritage. Liberty represents a political freedoms won through struggle and maintained through vigilance, and E pluribus unum expresses the national ideal of unity and